You may not realize it, but Grubs approach the elevated status of a Zen master. When asked what Zen is, a number of Zen masters have said, well, it's eating, defecating, sleeping, standing, walking. And actually one enterprising Zen teacher, a woman actually, on YouTube said, well, they missed the one thing out, fucking. So eating, defecating, sleeping, standing, walking, fucking. That is what a Zen master does. Now there's a whole discussion around that, which I'm not going to go into. But the grub that you see there eats, defecates, and sleeps. Assume it sleeps anyway. So it's kind of halfway there. The problem is, of course, it doesn't know that it's doing those things, whereas a Zen master can know that he's eating or she's eating, defecating, sleeping, standing, walking, or fucking. So the grub is missing, we assume anyway, self-consciousness. Now, what we need to do here to understand what's going on is to discriminate between living and existing. This is something that Hubert Benoit talks about in his books on Zen Buddhism. We all think we're on this planet to live, to experience, and do any number of silly things. But actually, we're on this planet to exist. Existing is superior to living. So, eating, defecating, sleeping, standing, walking, fucking is a kind of minimum set of activities for existence. Going on holiday to Disney World, building your career, yada yada, all this stuff that people normally do, are the sources of a distractions. They are distractions. So, if we're going to live a life that has any kind of significance for us, not for anything else, nobody or nothing else cares what you do. If we're going to build a life that has some fullness, that's the only word I can use, then we'd better learn to exist, to savor existence, instead of distracting ourselves with living. Now, living, what does it comprise? Well, we have a whole set of ideas, theories, beliefs, opinions. We think they're important. And in fact, importance is the key word in all of this. We think that all our activities are important. The universe has no understanding of the word important. So your ideas don't really matter. I mean, play with them if you want to have a bit of fun, maybe, and your theories and your beliefs and your opinions, but ultimately they don't matter, because the only thing that matters is existing, which is eating, defecating, sleeping, standing, walking, and fucking. Doing stuff. We think that doing stuff is important. Well, certain things take on a kind of urgency. Like if you've broken your leg, you need to go to the hospital. But we overburden ourselves with things to do. Why? Well, there's a long story there, and I've covered it before, but we do things as a distraction from being. We prefer doing to being. Why? Well, because being throws us back on ourselves. Doing alienates us from ourselves, and we would prefer to be alienated from ourselves, because what's inside us usually isn't all that pleasant to be around. So that's our ideas, our doing, all the things that people normally do, kind of obsessive socializing, people pleasing. In other words, all the things that you would categorize as living. Those are the things that people think are important. Whereas what is really important is being. Now, the problem here is that as soon as we start talking about being, then there are lots and lots of people who would give you any amount of spiritual mumbo-jumbo about special practices and so on. If you're doing anything that's special, you've got it all wrong. You're doing. Being is just a recognition, a sense of your own existence. And that's, you see, the irony is that people go chasing after doing. Do vipassana. Stare at a fucking wall for 9 hours. Doing. Self-remembering. Doing. When what we need is just being. So there's nothing special associated with just being. If you are, or if you have adopted some kind of thing that is supposed to promote your being, then drop it if you can, because actually there's nothing special associated with being. No elaborate practices. And in fact, the elaborate practices will take you away from it. Being, existence, the same things. Just to be, or just to exist and to be aware of your existence. That's the best we can do. I know there are people promising all kinds of things, but the best we can do is to be aware of our existence. And then if you want to play with ideas and all the rest of it, then do it. But don't imagine that any of it is important. And if you have to busy yourself because you can't bear being with yourself, then do it. But be aware of what you're doing, which is you are avoiding being with yourself, because you bought so much rubbish from society and religion and so on, that what is going on inside you is possibly not very pleasant. So, Grub Life. Aspire to Grub Life. And then add the little human bits on the end. So eat, defecate, sleep, and stand and walk and fuck. And then you'll be a happy bunny.